we will be at a year that we have been in planning for doing Nerd Initiative. I think we started talking back in March.
Mhm. We
We were kind
launched
of
in
like
May,
texting
right?
back and forth
Yeah.
in January and in February, and we finally got together around March to start doing like some Zoom calls and things like that. And so we thought, it was a great idea. Sean brought up the idea of kind of like talking about, Nerd Initiative, where it's come from, and where we're going. So, Michael, I think I want you to go ahead and start off. I think it would help, like, just kind of where you started onto, like, social media with, like,
Mhm.
superhero talk, and then, I guess I could share a little bit about myself too, but then we could talk about, the what led to, Nerd Initiative.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, for me, there's really a catalyst moment for me that will always stick in my mind. And I'm happy to say it involves one of my favorites, Mark Hamill. Uh, Wait, we're getting word that our stream got cut. Let's see. Hold on.
We should be back up.
Let's see.
The YouTube has a viewer. Let me just double
Oh,
check.
okay. Yeah,
Yep.
it looks like it's live.
Yeah, I think it just dropped for a minute.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So yeah. So okay. We can cut that out. But basically, yeah. So there's a moment that stuck in my head for sure. Like season 2 of The Mandalorian. It was the finale. That whole kind of like wow moment with Luke. And this is probably maybe a year after I had left ABC and Good Morning America. Oh, and I remember really kind of being passionate without a home. Like what I used to do was if something crazy like that happened, like we finally got, Luke Skywalker going crazy on droids, and we had always wanted it, the fanboys, whatever. And I had nowhere to turn to. I couldn't go write a story. I couldn't go, I had no outlet really. And so, much like a lot of other people out there, I think it was a couple months later that a coworker of mine was like, "You should get on TikTok. I think you'd really be good on it. I also think you'd really like it." And I was desperately looking for an outlet. I'd missed. I think the old saying, "You don't know what you have till it's gone." I missed my time at ABC. Covering Star Wars, covering Marvel, and doing all these things, and I missed it more than I could have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And just had that outlet of like connection and putting things out there and talking to people, and even the trolls, even the good and the bad. So I did get on TikTok. I think it was now it's about 2 years ago, and that's kind of what led us to connect. Like I think, you know, we I think got on similar times, and I remember connecting with you and was Mickey and Donovan and all the other people that we connected with.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it was amazing because I do think TikTok, I will say this, like there's positives and negatives to everything out there, every platform out there. I do think TikTok has more like genre based substance and these like pocket communities. And it's more informational and substance based. And I think it was really cool. We found this really cool tribe of people that were into the same things, kind of share things. I was corrected on a bunch of things, which I was totally fine with. And it was just kind of cool to see. And that's how we connected.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'll let you take it from there. Like we connected and started talking, and we're covering a lot of the same things, and we're kind of in the same trajectory, as far as like growth and connection, and then we just kind of like, I'll turn it over to you to get your perspective of where that story goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what was really funny was so I was a consumer of watching TikToks, and at some point, people were doing the the clips of videos, like they would clip the Marvel shows to prove it, like to show a point, but nobody was actually narrating or talking about stuff, with the exception of like Juju, Straw Hat Goofy, and like Jay Stubes and a couple others that started back in 2020. For me, 2020, the pandemic, you had that pandemic, depression that goes on. I built a computer. I decided at some point that I wanted to try to do some Twitch streaming. What was interesting was I started doing the Marvel TikToks because I wanted somewhere to talk about it, and I always would have to find. It was always the teenagers that always wanted to talk to me about Marvel stuff, and then you knew you went too far when they started to glaze over as you're explaining something, because they have no comprehension of what you're talking about. Like I know that there were friends and family that made fun of me or whatever, or just just don't talk about Marvel to Tony, because he won't stop. And so not having that outlet was really hard for me, and so I found that doing videos just for the sake of getting it out of my system helped. But then when people actually started responding to those videos, and of course, like you were saying, like the people who like to correct you, I will tell you when I am giving you fact about something, but oftentimes my thoughts are always like headcanon, or like like theories of things. And it was neat because I started having these trolls that would come in and like argue with me. And at some point I stopped and I started asking them, "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" And I remember I actually became friends with some of them. And so like I'll see their profile picture defending me in the comments where they used to go at me. And I was amazed by that. And then like Mr. Snidbits and the their streaming show on Twitch, going over movie reviews and inviting me to do that. And then when it became The Real Study, and doing that for a while, and having that outlet to be able to talk more than just on those short form videos. And then I think when you and I started connecting as well, because like you would say something or I would say something, and it was funny because before we really started communicating with each other, I was always trying to see if I could keep up with your numbers. Like we would go back and forth. Like I was at like 5 to 10,000, and you were at like 15,000. I'm like, okay, I got to get to that, and it was like this rivalry that never happened, but it was like I was just having fun, like trying to see like if I could keep up with him.
Not right past me and never looked back.
And no, and that was the thing. In January, I just kind of like decided to do. I don't know what the algorithm did, but they were like, "Hey, let's just give you imposter syndrome for the next year and a half." And like I went from like 25,000 followers to like 60,000 followers, and now I've kind of like I have slow trending and stuff now, but it's been amazing. And so like last year, I remember we were boosting other people. And I think that's when we really started talking, because like it was like I was like, this person needs to get to this many thousand followers. Help me get this. And then I know Kev Parker, which you don't really see him much on anymore, would do it, and then you did it, and then somebody else did it, and it was like this thing of like who would recommend the next person, and we did that for like a number of weeks, and it was so exciting to see that people were growing. And I think that's when we started talking like, hey, we should really like talk and see what we can do with each other. And then that was the first conversation. In fact, I remember when we first met, I'm like, Michael, are you gonna be my manager, or are you gonna like, it was like, I'm like, I have no idea what we're gonna do. And then yeah, we said, we should do something together.
I will say, like, from my perspective, I know that I've always been better at seeing something in other people, and I think a lot of people are like that, right? And I think we all kind of like, the funny thing is the creatives, we have a lot of the similar traits as far as emotions and selflessness and whatnot. I think we have a lot of people in Nerd Initiative now, that are all that same ilk, cut from the same cloth and whatnot. And so like, I know that I've always been better at seeing, and so when we started to talk, I feel like we both always focus on each other, but there was something in there. And I think that's, if you look at like the catalyst, right? Like you have like the stage one, we both got on, we have a very similar story, which is why we work so well together. We both got on this for like a creative outlet to kind of like find something to just talk about and enjoy this and not bug, you know, our wives or our friends or whatever, and just kind of have. And I think that, you know, even Juju, I think, has the same thing. I think I've seen his thing where he was like, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. Like, you don't become like huge like Juju or Jay Stubes or any of the, you know, Shooby Doober or whoever, or Donovan overnight. It's you kind of like just start doing it, and you find yourself in the journey, and you kind of hone what you do really well.
Mhm.
And I think like then the next step is, I think we both kind of saw, and I definitely saw like my professional background of seeing quality talent and people, and I think we kind of, the selflessness of seeing something in each other and then other people. There was, I remember in March when we first started talking about it, I was away, and I remember like walking around this like town in California with my wife, and like thinking and thinking and thinking, and then it just like hit me, and I was like, we started like messaging about it. I was like, how about this and how about that? And I don't even know if we had a name at the time, but we were just going over it, and I was like, it was basically, it was kind of like the Avengers. We wanted to come together to be like more than the sum of our parts, right? And come together, and we started to reach out to people that we had collaborated with, been on podcasts with. Like Sean came because I'd been on Caption Life a couple of times, and then, you know, we just people that we knew, trusted, and liked, and kind of was like, we all have different skill sets, but we're all into the same things, or other things, which is great. We all want to learn from each other and grow, and that's kind of how it came about. And I think, like, you know, you have a picture of the website that we had. I mean, again,
Let me pull that up.
It'd be like a 6-part series, because again, if you think about it, so, you know, we had an idea, we had what we wanted to do, we came up with the name, and we went down the road, and it was like, but then it was like the blind leading the blind, where it was like, all right, well, how do we do this? And we went to Fiverr to get not only a logo, which is like whatever, but to also get like this website built. And, you know, the classic story that we'll tell down the road, if this ends up being something, you know, years to come, which I hope it will, like, the guy just ghosted us. The site didn't work. You went on like YouTube and started watching videos, and was like, how do I program a website? That we couldn't do anything on the site. It was completely broken. And then this was probably like April. So it's probably like a month after we started talking, and we just kind of got into motion. I think you wrote a story. The first stories are hilarious. We have like there's another site out there somewhere.
I'm not gonna say the website because
it was like, there was like CinemaCon, and news came out, and we were just like throwing anything up.
Yes.
And it was like, but then there was also like these random story, like it was crazy. And then we finally found our rhythm, and I will say this, and then we, you know, it could be like a 2-part or a 3-part or whatever, but like, I will say the biggest shock was, and I think this always happens, but there's peaks and valleys, was when you started bringing in people, and we were like talking about having like 3 to 5 people, maybe more than that. Mm-hmm. We're like, you know, who wants to join? And suddenly we had like 30. And we were like, wait, like, this is crazy. And there was like people sharing really great stories and supportive stories, and, you know, how, you know, and it was just kind of nice to be in this community and talking to each other and sharing ideas, and people got excited, and I think people still are excited, and there's so much more coming. But it seemed like it was something people needed, and we knew we needed it. We didn't know that they needed it as much as we did. And that's the cool thing about it, and that's what makes it really worthwhile. And I mean, we have so many more things to come, and we're pushing forward, and like, you know, I mean, another website coming out soon, and like, you know, all these people and the cool thing is, like, there's so much we had to learn from these quality people that we're connected to. And so it's just kind of cool, you know. You seen Blake, I mean, we've said so many names, JJ, we can't forget JJ. Like, I mean, it goes on and on and on, all these amazing people, and new people like Paperweight. And I mean, just, you know, we were talking to JT earlier this week, and he was giving us a lot of really great things to talk about. And like, so there's just so many good people that we're learning from and growing with, and meeting, and, you know, it's just it's been an amazing experience and ride. So
and you're not kidding about us not really knowing what we were doing at first. Like, I can tell you right now, the first thing we did was we built our the Discord channel, and it was like you and I, and we like had everything on there. And then when we started inviting people in, I remember I was afraid of letting people have access to the WordPress site to be able to make the articles, and so they would post the articles in their channels because everybody has their own individual channel, and we would then copy and paste and then edit and then add our own photos and look for photos, and then we decided to ask people for photos, and then we got them in to do the edits, but then you couldn't put the photos in, and then we found a plugin. Oh my word, the plugins!
If anyone's out there, so there's different things obviously when you go to build a website, and I think there's really interesting series that you can create here. Like JJ has his online comic store, and I keep imploring him to like do this step by step, but we should probably do this as well. But like, you know, when you get to the website development phase of like a company, it's more than a website now, but like, you know, you have Wix, you have Squarespace, you have whatever. We went with because of the developer that we worked with, he built it on WordPress, which is not a bad thing, but yeah, it's very, very customizable. But it's customizable with millions of plugins that do different things, like co-author and scrolling and animation and this and that. And I mean, but like there was, I mean, me, you, and Sean were probably like the brain trust early on. And I remember like Sean being like, there's new plugins every day. What is going on? And we were all kind of just like really just Frankensteining it. That's the best way to describe it. Is we really Frankenstein this together.
Do you remember the most active channel on the Discord was literally the internet problem, like the website problems channel. Like it was always hey, did you know this doesn't work? Hey, did you know this doesn't work? I'd be typing like, we're on it. Like it was.
I mean, there's still things. I mean, now we're working. And the funny thing is, like, you grow and you learn, you know, and there's going to be trials and tribulations always. And it's, again, you hear these stories because they happen over and over again. There's a reason you hear these stories. And I think, like, you know, now we're working with a designer and a developer, and you know, we're on 2.0. I think 2.0 looks really nice for what we were able to do. I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
2.0 and take
when
it
I broke the internet, it's like, don't break it. It worked. Let's break it again.
Yeah, and so I think we'll continue to advance, bring more people into our personal sphere who are professionals. I think that's another thing too that really, you know, is at the core of Nerd Initiative is, you know, we trust in our people and have faith in our people and want to invest in our people and support our people. But we also know what we don't know. And so we trust, you know, we don't micromanage or whatever. We want to go. And so that also takes you on different journeys because people are like you have different opinions and ideas. And so it's been a wild ride. It's continue to be a wild ride. And we'll just, you know, again, be flexible and see where this is going. And, you know, just keep going from there. It's going to be.
What I think was interesting about what we did and what this has become is our initial conversations were about how to expand our outreach, like our I guess notoriety in a sense. Like I'm like I said, was seeing like you've worked in the industry, like getting me into doing more stuff because eventually I would have loved to have done like the red carpets and all that kind of stuff. And I discovered if you were in social media, let me just give you the hint. If you're a content creator, the best way to get invited to red carpets is live near the red carpets. That just seems to be how it is. But regardless of that, like it went from us, or at least myself, I know, wanting to get there and wanting to have, let's say, like the Straw Hat Goofy, you know, following. And then I realized I would rather be the guy making sure everybody else has access to stuff. And I it's funny because I look back last year and I got to do some brand deals. I got to do some different things, but I was more excited for Donovan getting to the red carpet. I was more excited to see, you know, some of our team actually interviewing people or doing like their spotlights and really getting out there. And then, you know, like we've got some new people that are coming in, and I got to sit down and talk to one of them. And like I felt pride being able to say, hey, listen, when you write an article, anybody who clicks on your name, it's going to show everything you've written for us.
Yeah.
And it's a portfolio for you, and you can link, you know, your resume or whatever to that to show that you're making content. And the idea that we're able to do that to invest in other people makes me happy. And the content of people, what people are giving.
I mean, look at Yassine. I mean, Yassine is one of the best examples. That's a guy who, and for people who don't know, you've seen that guy, but he's also, for me, I was introduced to Yassine as the face and like head of like CBR TikTok. And I always thought he's much like I saw yours again, like I know that I have an ability to see something in others, you know, and so I always saw his videos and was like, man, this guy is super talented and positive and like care, you know, and
Always
on it.
polished videos.
Yeah, it's amazing video editor. Him and Sean are two of the best, and so but you seen we connected and you know again like we were talking about you know I was raving about this guy that I wanted to work with him before, and then he reached out to me when he saw, because we had commented back and forth, and he reached out to me when he saw our announcement of Nerd Initiative, and now he's, you know, fast forward, like he's launching his own anime site, and which I mean, I think the sky's the limit for someone like that. And so that's just a really cool thing to see when you're able to kind of like support someone and, you know, tell them to take their time and don't rush and let it happen. And, you know, they get into a groove and just let them, it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Life is a marathon. And I think we had some times where, you know, the site would break, or like you mentioned. And I think being able to kind of be the guiding force and comforting, you know, voice behind it. I mean, it's really, the older you get, the more you realize this thing is simple, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not simple, right? Like there's a lot that goes into all this stuff, but the things behind it never change. It's patience, tenacity, taking your time, taking it slow, being supportive, being positive, saying, all right, look, hey, we screwed up at this time. We'll try it again differently, you know, whatever. And so it's just, that's why you learn a lot too. And I think we've become better people through this whole thing. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm really excited about too. Like I'm excited about stuff like this and, you know, and growing all our platforms. I'm excited to see Yassine come into his own, and man, the guy is born like, you know, leader and strategist, and he's going to be killer. And I think like, you know, Sean doing the editing and, you know, really working with, you know, our videos and our platforms and growing in what he wants to do. And we have so much stuff that's going to come his way eventually.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was a slow end of 2022. And it was funny. He was like, you could tell he was chomping at the bit. It's like, anything going on? I was like, nah, you know, whatever. And so it's just, it's really cool to see people kind of like grow and blossom. And I think that is the thing that we are enjoying. And then also having the creative outlet, right? But I think like we really are creating something special here where it's cool, because we know deep in our core that we want to help people. That's what it's about. And it might be a horrible business model, so we'll see how that works. Like we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But we get a ton of satisfaction out of that, and seeing things take off from there. And it's a great place to start. And I'm never going to feel bad about that essence being at the core of what we do. So yeah,
Absolutely. I just think back on like we've met some amazing people this year, not just our team, but like people like, you know, John Caglione. We got to you know, interview a number of people, just like really getting to know them, and at the same time it's gotten our name out there. And it's weird when you start realizing that there are people that have reached out, and even the stuff that didn't happen last year was exciting because it was like a possibility. And which leads us to this year and like the things that we're doing. Like I can promise you this, and this is something that I can tell you guys. We're working on our 2023 goals, and we're gonna be doing that this next week. But you know, we're not gonna put the website on a paywall. We're not doing that. One of our things that we really want to do is we want to get the viewership, the viewing hours for the YouTube, so that we can get that to monetize, which that doesn't, you know, cost anybody anything other than it could get us a little bit of revenue and stuff like that. We have a merch store, but that's not like, it's just kind of fun, like throwing things out there and making designs that we pretty much end up buying ourselves. But it's
you always message me. You're like, did you just buy a Phantoms hoodie? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, somebody just bought something recently. I wasn't gonna ask, but it's like you know, doing those things and just being excited behind the brand, and you know what we're trying to do to help other people, not just our team, but you know, other, you know, companies. And I think that's one of the great things. We when we go to a convention and we talk to somebody, like we've talked to Roosevelt's, or we've talked about to, you know, different like small creators, and we explain what we're doing, they're like, you're doing this for free? and it's like probably not the best way to make money, but yes, we thought it's amazing. Like there's stuff that we haven't even put out yet. Like the girl who does the tribbles, that's I haven't even gotten that. Like Sean's gonna get that video at some point. Like I'm realizing there's stuff that we still have that we can put out there. Just people that we've discovered that we think that everybody else should know about, that they don't get to know about because they get lost in the convention circuit.
Well, yeah, I mean, what you're saying, I totally get it. I mean, I think like, and again, like I think back to like Social Network, right? The Facebook story, and again, this isn't Facebook or Meta or whatever, but like where like it was like I always remember that movie, and he was like, I'm gonna put ads in and he's like, we don't know what it is yet, right? Yeah. I think like people I think are surprised and impressed with like what we're doing, and like we just want to work with cool people and help them out and do cool things. And like if we slow play anything for people out there, because we've like talked to a lot of cool people, and we it's our bandwidth that we're working on and organizing and we will get there and figure it out and how to scale and grow at a pace that we can handle with like our team. But I will say, like, we want to learn what is our thing. We want to learn what our secret sauce is before we like, oh, we got to do this or do that. And that's our philosophy. Like right now, I think it'll come, we'll figure it out, and that will come down the road. Like we can't just meander through life and whatever, but I think like the beauty of what we're doing is that we are trying to help people and then see where that goes. And I think, you mentioned John Caglione. I think he's a great example. We took him to his first convention in October.
So
we went to NYCC, New York Comic Con, and he connected with a lot of really cool people. He interviewed Juju, and I mean, also he's just a natural interviewer. I mean, he's just so good at and so genuine. But like he interviewed Juju, he talked about his start. He talked to Megs, and he just was like really, really good at like networking and talking to people, and and it's crazy that it was his first convention. But we were at lunch, and he was saying to me, he's like, that's what he was like, I can't put a word on it or a name on it or whatever, but he said that essentially like what you guys, this little world that you're creating here is amazing, and you're connecting people and you want to help people, and like there's things that we want to do, and that is Nerd Initiative. Like I want to get a collaborate button on stories where it's like, if you want to reach out to someone, you just hit that button and like try to maybe collaborate them on a video or so, like that. We want to, again, like you had said, like there's people that want to be, Soups and Juju and other people like that in the world. And like, God bless them. That's great. And it's like the athlete and the celebrity. It's very, you have to be really, really up here to do that and get to that perspective. I want to be the field that people play on. I don't want to be a team. I don't want to be a player. I want to be the stadium. And so like, to me, like then I get to see everything. I get to experience everything. I get to connect with everyone. Like like you said, like we've gotten to work with John. We've gotten to speak to like John Romita Jr. and Jerry Conway and more and more down the road, Gary Oldman. And so like there's so much stuff that we have coming down the pike and will have. And that was literally takes it full circle to that first conversation we were talking about. And we were trying to figure out, like, we basically wanted to figure out where do we go from here. And my first thing was like, all right, well, how do we combine forces? And then is there more people that want to combine with us to that way we can do things? And I remember asking you, like, do you want to do interviews? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I remember thinking like, well, we should create a team. And that's what we did basically. And right now we're just in the segment of just helping people out, connecting, using all our skill sets. And we have just like the amount of people that are just so talented. You see, and I brought up again, like I and that guy's probably super awkward because of how much I rave about him all the time. But I mean, I just
for good reason.
There's people that have great skill sets. I think your knowledge and the way you deliver information, Sean's editing skills. Sean's also an amazing podcaster. JJ, and it just goes on and on. Pooja. I mean, one of the highlights for me of the past year is the fact that Pooja, Samosas and Popcorn, is a bona fide movie critic right now.
Yeah.
Like, let that sink in. If she's watching this, like, let that sink in. You are a movie critic. You have probably 20 to 30 plus movie reviews. And so, like, if there's a goal in 2023, I want to see her on Rotten Tomatoes as like an official, and I don't even know what comes comes with that, but like whatever.
Oh yeah.
But like, she's an actual, like, people always talk about like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, in matter of months, she's a legit movie critic. And so, like, I'd like to get her to go to screenings, and like, I mean, that
Or even
is,
the pressers, like
yeah,
that's the thing, like, and like she has her own samosas meter now, and it's
that's
very
so cool.
it's like
That, I mean, that in a nutshell, that is what Nerd Initiative is, and that is what Nerd Initiative aspires to be. And
right.
it sounds cheesy and cliche, and I'm sounding like a, a grandma right now, or whatever, but like, that's what we want to be, and that's our goal all the time, is to see growth and see people, whatever. And then we'll figure out from there what we do to make it a business, right? But like,
Yeah.
I always think about, like, yeah, like, again, like, I think it was Justin Timberlake, with Jesse Eisenberg, and they're at the Social Network, and he was like, "You don't know what it is yet. Don't start putting ads on it and making it uncool. It's cool right now. Figure it out." And I think we're growing and figuring it out. And so I think, you brought up merch. Like, my head always goes to that, like, the foundation of what we want to do. We've met so many cool people, whether it be Brand Flakes, or, I mean, I knew him before, but Shoebaker, and all these different artists. Pablo Oliveira, who's like up there, and these guys that we've connected with and talked
Yep.
to, and they're amazing. I want to, if we create like a really robust on 3.0 merch page, I want their stuff on there too. And again, not for our own benefit, but like almost like people can come in there and know that they can trust that this is like quality, local, amazing art that you're going to get, that is going to be stuff that you're going to love. And I get asked all the time, like the Spider-Man poster, it's Dan Mumford, it's from Bottleneck Gallery. It is something in, they're bigger and they're in New York City, but they have been, there's good ones and bad ones. Bottleneck Gallery is top notch. And so, that's really the essence of what we want to do. And so I always come back to it. It's just creating a community, growing that, being supportive of each other, being non-toxic, and just moving that needle and growing that community that is like, constructive and positive. And
a while back when we were talking, I remember you specifically made a statement where you said we have to figure out what we're dealers of, what we're trying to craft, what are we offering, what is the tangible product that we want to produce. And I think just sitting here with us talking, I think I realized that we're dealers of opportunity. And it's whether it's like, let's say a person who has had an illustrious career but wants to take the next step in like social media and just needs the tools and opportunity to be able to excel in that. Whether it's our creators, and and if everybody wants to know, we have, at this point, there's at least 60 creators in Nerd Initiative, and
crazy.
Not every creator produces content, and that is by design. That there are people that are just members to do, let's say they do their videos, or it's to just participate in the small community of creators that we have, to help build each other up. The opportunity is always there to write articles and to create Nerd Initiative content, but it's never a requirement. I remember I was in urgent care for a migraine, and I was messaging one of our creators, and they kept apologizing because they weren't making enough like articles. And I said, you were not brought on to make articles. You were brought on because you're positive. This is us giving you the opportunity. If you take the opportunity, that's fine. If you don't take the opportunity, that's fine. It's whatever you do with it. We
always say it's a create your own adventure experience.
Exactly.
And like you said, we're opportunities. And I if you think about like, what are our assets, right? Like, if you're Roosevelt, your assets are your shirts and your IP and what you do. Our assets are our people. That's the thing. Again, it's a community of positive, talented people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many ways you can go with that, right? And I think that's the thing. And I do think, I'm not like Tony Stark. I don't call myself a futurist. Like, I know what's coming and whatnot. I do kind of like, I'd like to, but I do see, if there's one thing I do see, the future of the internet is going to continue to, I think now more so than ever after COVID and after what we've been through, is going to connect people. And I think there is going to be a time, and I don't know how it's going to happen. And I've seen it more and more. And I think being on these platforms with YouTube, and YouTube is limiting, offensive and inappropriate comments. That's like an option when you post a video. TikTok, you mentioned, obviously making sure you check in on everyone's people on there, but I've seen a lot less trolls. And I don't know, and they've made a lot of changes to their platform. So I do think we're going to come out of a situation where, where some of these things were watered down and negative and toxic, and I think they're getting better. And I think, we're doing what we're doing at a really good time as well, because that's what we want to do. I mean, that was another core thing, is that we just don't want to, we want to be constructive and positive, and we don't want to, deal in that whole thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that is where it's heading, is connection, and you have Masterclass Online, which is learning from like all, that's what's happening. And so I'm excited about the next phase and what we can do, and the things we can learn, and the connections we can make, and the experiences, and the people we can grow. The people are literally our assets, and our most valuable resources of what we hold so like near and dear, is how they feel, being positive and doing what they do. And when they are succeeding and successful, like, there's no better feeling in the world. And that's literally our only parameter for success, when people are happy and positive and just having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the approach that we also need to take in our lives, whether it's content creation or writing articles, taking that opportunity, deciding what you want to be driven for. And then even on our relationships, relationships take work. You can't ever expect things to be handed to you. And so that's why, like, even with the community, like, you can have that opportunity, but being able to take that on and make it work for you. And I think that's one of the great parts about it, is we have a great group of people, and, they're crazy, positive. And, I remember when we first started doing fandoms, even just doing like the segments, and then like making some suggestions with people. And I was afraid of approaching people saying, hey, if you could redo this, because you don't want that, like I just did this for you, and that didn't happen. It was like, oh, I didn't know, let me do this. And just to see the quality content, how it, like, from the first episode, which was fantastic, to now it's like so polished, and you've got, I mean, it's just amazing to see the growth. And that's, I think, what's the best part about it. And 2023 is going to be a year of growth for us. We're only 6 days into it, and I have probably been working more consistently on Nerd Initiative, like logistics and stuff, than I did for the last 2 months. And that has been extremely exciting, and then incredibly humbling at the same time. We're going to be busy this year, and I can already foretell, you already know, the groups that we're working with. And then at the same time, things like C2E2. I don't know how that happened. It was not something that we decided. It just organically occurred that there will be a large gathering of Nerd Initiative members. I guess we should just call ourselves the Nerds, right? Put the in the beginning, the Nerds. And
drop the it's cleaner.
Drop the.
No, I'm kidding. It's in the movie. Yeah.
Right. Nerds, the initiative. So you've got like a large group that's going to be there, and we're planning on doing things, and there'll be more to come regarding that, and what we're going to be doing there. But you will definitely see us at some major conventions, and I know you and I will both be back for New York Comic Con, and I believe some of the team are going to try to come as well. And but just consider, we've got over 60 creators over multiple continents.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In different countries. And the United States, yes, has, I think, the highest number of readers on our website and everything else, but there are other countries that are catching up, and it's just exciting to see that, and where we go from here. There'll be more content. There'll be more shows coming down the road. We want to build a catalog that gives opportunities. And I mean, if you sit here, and here's the thing that I think is great, and this is for you, if you're sitting there and you're not a member of Nerd Initiative, and you're looking at us, and you're like, Nerd Initiative sounds really great, but there's really not a whole lot of professional wrestling content, or there's really not a lot of book content and literature content. There's really not a lot of this type of content that I really enjoy making. Maybe it's because we just haven't gotten you yet.
Yeah.
And just like we've said, if you're interested in making content for us, you can reach out, tag us in videos on TikTok, or, shoot us a message, or even fill out the form on the website. And
Yeah, go to our website.
Yep.
There's a contact us form that will go to us.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say about that, the biggest thing that to take from that of what you just said, because it really resonates, is whatever you come to us with and that you want to cover. And you mentioned wrestling, and you mentioned, I mean, there's comic creators on Instagram that I've connected with through Shortbox that like are into sneakers like I am as well. Like, there will be no judgment. So whatever you are into does not matter. There will be no judgment. I am a anime novice, but I respect the heck out of and appreciate Yassine and Blake, and Tony is getting into anime too, and Pooja's into it as well. And eventually I'm going to have to get into it if I find the time, and I'm sure I'll get like drawn in, but there is never any judgment on anything you are into, as long as it's positive, of course. Anything you are into, because we are all different. We are all into what we're into, and we celebrate those differences. And that's the important thing about what we are and what makes us special, is that we appreciate it and want to learn from each other. And if that sounds weird, it's on purpose, because sadly, that's not how common things are these days. But it should be that way. And not saying we're like Bill and Ted, we're going to change the structure of the world and like, the thoughts of the world, but like, we want to make a little bit, at least a ripple. Like, and so we appreciate you, whatever you're into, we respect you. And yeah, like, never will be any judgment from us, no matter what you are a fan of.
Yep. And then it's the same thing as like, even if you've been known for making certain content, like I'm Mr. Marvelite, I make Marvel content. That doesn't stop me from doing other stuff. And I think that's the thing, is like being able to, I mean, I'm a Marvel fan, but I super geeked out with John Caglione because of The Dark Knight, because I love Heath Ledger's his taking on the Joker. Like, that was one of my favorite roles that he's ever played. And I think it's the best casting for the Joker. And I know some people prefer other characters, but I loved that. And knowing that John was the guy who helped make that. He's like, you know how I got these scars? John Caglione. It's like, that was the real story.
And then the last thing I will say before we go, but like, you mentioned C2E2 and we talked a little bit, and there's a lot coming, but I do, it's going to be an emotional experience, because I think like, specifics are still being worked out. We're still figuring out what, exactly what we're going to do. I do know there's certain things that we are going to do that are amazing, and that I'm just floored, by like an official after party and this and that. And, the fact that we're getting like, almost like a Nerd Initiative house with like, double-digit creators staying there. I cannot believe this is a reality, in a good way. And I think like, it's so damn cool that, us talking back in, 10 months ago has come to this, and will continue to grow. And I even have friends reaching out and being like, oh, you should talk to my friend or my brother who works for this company, and they would probably figure out a way to work. I think there's so many lessons that can be learned from this experience, and we'll continue to learn. And we've brought it up in this journey and on the show before and in videos before, and it's just like, go for what you love to do, try it out. The worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out, but you have a journey and experience, and you have a learning experience. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, and keep trying, and keep creating, and keep helping other people. But I mean, I'm excited for C2E2, because that's going to be a huge, like, kind of a culmination experience for all of us. And man, it's going to be super cool. But I just just keep doing what we're doing. I don't know. I'm running out of words to explain it, but
No, I think that's the thing. I think just we're incredibly grateful for where we are in this path. We thought that it was going to be a years long, multiple years, getting to where we're at now, and to see the growth. And then we started doing the show in September, and then, we're now over 5,000 on YouTube, and we have the ability to have a goal that by C2E2 we're at 10,000. And to think that we could do these things, and I almost want to feel like when we set our goals from now on, we set our goals to the extreme, and then we have like smaller dial back goals that we're like, okay, these are little wins.
Yeah.
And whether we hit that, you shoot. I hate the phrase because I always hear it all the time, but it makes perfect sense. Shoot for the moon and you'll land among the stars. And it's so cheesy. It's so cheesy, but it's true. You don't ever throttle yourself. The only person that can ever limit you is yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that. I know I've sat and talked with my family, and
look at today, and this is the last thing I'll say. And again, I always am going to take it outside of my little circle, right? Well, not outside of I'm always going to take the spotlight away from me and put it on someone else. And luckily this is what Nerd Initiative is, which is great because I get to lean into it and it's good for what we're doing, right? It's not detrimental. We shared something today, Caption Life and Wednesday Poll both popped up and JJ saw it. These two really great creators that are in our Discord, and they popped up in the top 50 comic podcasts to listen to. And if you haven't checked them out, you should. On top of oh man, I'm drawing a blank, but there's Ken's it's Oblivion Bar podcast. I think I did it right? Who's another amazing creator and person. That's that one. And then I got to double check the other one because he's one of the best people ever as well. It's just cool to see ODPH, and I don't know what that stands for, but he was talking recently. Ken was saying that I think it was they're nearing 100,000 downloads or something. That's crazy. And so I just love the fact that we're in a world where we're able to learn from people that have gone through the journey, but also celebrate them. It's not about competition or about. And again, that's why I always say I want to own the stadium. I want to own that's what I want to be the business of, and being hey, everyone gets to play in the sandbox and everyone gets to do what they want to do, and we're gonna help you get there. But also we're learning from people, and there's people that are better, so much better at certain things than we are. And that's the cool thing about it, and so that's the essence of what it is, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's going to continue to grow, continue to connect with amazing people, and it's a great thing so far.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've said as much as we can, because if we keep talking, we're not going to really make much more sense. But I will say this, for those of you who are watching, thank you for being part of this journey. I know I probably said that in the last episode when I did the recording. It is not only our creators, but those that are consuming and watching and subscribing and following that have made this possible. Just to give a little bit of information, tomorrow, January 7th, at 6 p.m. Eastern time, there is going to be a live, TikTok live, because we hit 1,000 followers, and a giveaway. And so we're all about giveaways. So by all means, make sure you tune in for that. Please be sure to follow us on nerdinitiative.com.
Can I make one correction real quick?
Sure.
So we were talking about Ken. It's the ODPH podcast. It's Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast. No one can blame me for not remembering that. But that's another one that we were talking about. We talked about Caption Life, and we talked about Wednesday Poll. Another one that's amazing, run by great people. Sorry, I get back to it, but I wanted to correct that, because another person that's been incredibly supportive and positive, and I wanted to make sure I got that right. So thank you. Sorry.
Oh no, absolutely. But yeah, please go to nerdinitiative.com, check out our articles. Make sure you put a like on those articles that you read. It really does help us, as well as liking this video if you're watching it after we've done the stream. Yeah, by all means, thank you so much for being a part of this. There's more news to come for this year. We'll be excited, and we will be back with you in 2 weeks from now. All right. So, well, good night, Michael.
Good night. See you guys later.